This is a Legend Suspension's new Axeo high performance front suspension. This particular model that we're going to take a look at fits all the 49 millimeter and the 41 millimeter Harley-Davidson FLH front ends. We make them in a standard length and 1 inch lowered. 7 pretty simple steps. The entire assembly comes ready to drop in the bike, so it's a real easy installation. You'll set your preload based on this chart on the back of the install guide. So we go from 150 pounds to 750 pounds plus. So to set that preload, it's just above our billet aluminum rod. This is a machined component from billet stock. But you thread this adjuster, which is 303 stainless steel. There's an inch of travel in there, so you just go by the install guide. You're setting that preload in the front end. That gives you the proper spring rate and the performance for the weight and the way and style that you ride the bike. Some of our competitors, you'll push a clip into the spring and that adds the preload. This way you're really setting the spring preload and it's accurate, it stays the same consistently. These are high performance coil, so we up the spring rate in the front of these. In our opinion, the stock front suspension is way too soft. When you grab some front brake, it wants to bottom out, travel all the way through the front suspension. Really makes for an ill handling bike, especially if you have to maneuver in a panic type situation. After the spring, you get up to the spring retainer. What that does is it keeps the spring straight in the fork tube. Otherwise that spring wants to bow one way or the other when it's being compressed. This keeps for a more true spring rate and a real consistent spring rate. This is a machined billet aluminum damper cartridge. Inside here we're taking care of all the damping, managing that force that the spring is taken in from hitting the bumps. This is how we slow all that energy down and dissipate it in the damper. What's real unique about this system is on top of this damper cartridge, we also have a high pressure nitrogen chamber. So the first couple inches of travel, you're gonna get a nice plush ride. You start getting toward the end of the stroke in that third and fourth inch of the front end, and it starts to get real aggressive. We've got quite a bit of damping in this front end as well. So what that means is you're going to get a little bit stiffer feel in the front end on small bumps, but you'll be able to eat the huge bumps going onto a bridge embankment, 6-inch deep potholes. You'll eat those effortlessly. What you'll feel in cornering is usually when you go to set the suspension in the corner, the bike really wants to squish, sag out, and then you have floorboards rubbing, foot pegs, those kinds of things. This virtually eliminates that because the bike will stand up where it needs to even after you set the suspension in the corner. So it's really a high performance front suspension. Ride quality is smooth and controlled. You can actually grab a handful of front brake with this and maneuver one direction and another. So if you have a car that pulls out in front of you or any panic situation, you can actually maneuver without the front end bottoming out and diving and having that front tire lose traction. Usually they'll want to wash out or the back end of the bike will come around, and that's not the case with these. Gives you the adjustability to tune it per rider. Really makes these things handle like they're supposed to. A couple other things that come complete in this kit is new top out springs. We actually use Maxima Racing fluid in the cartridge. We use a special 2.5 weight that's inside that cartridge when the customer gets it or the dealership gets it. And then we provide their 10 weight fork oil for the lower legs. All that's in the kit. Everything you need is in one complete kit. A few important aspects about ours. We really feel you need 2 of these in the front end. A lot of suspensions have one spring on one side and a damper on the other. We feel it's critical with this heavy bike that both of those front forks match and they're both working in unison to make the bike work the way it's supposed to. So it's a monotube dual chamber damper cartridge. Like I mentioned, you've got Maxima fluid in there and you've also got a nitrogen chamber. A couple other aspects. All of our components are billet machined. It's either 6061 T6 aluminum, 303 stainless. You don't have any welded spring retainers, cheap forms of manufacturing. This thing is designed to be high performance, so we produce everything top to bottom and machine those components. With that adjustability in the spring, it really allows you more fine-tunability per the rider and the way they ride the bike. Some guys go out and cruise their bike, some guys ride it hard. This gives you the ability to tune it to that rider. You're not set with a manufacturer's idea of what they think that suspension should be. You set it up for the way the rider uses it. We eliminate front end dive. Like I said before, in braking or hard cornering, you don't have that suspension matting out. It retains all of your front tire traction. 80% of your performance comes from the front suspension, and 80% of your ride quality comes from the rear. So it's one reason we run a light spring rate in the rear and a heavier spring rate in the front, so the bike can maneuver and still have a plush ride. It's designed really to have optimum performance with our rear Revo shocks or our air ride. So the two really work well in sync together, and they're designed to do so. Like everything we make, it has a lifetime warranty, and it's all made in Sturgis, South Dakota.